privilege today to have with us Texas Governor Greg Abbott is here with me now. Governor, thanks very much for joining this conversation.
Sure. Welcome back to South Texas.
Thank you so much. And I keep seeing situations that are worse than the time before. Assess where we are today in terms of this wide open border.
Listen, because of Biden's open border policies, it does nothing but create even more chaos down here. You hear the stories about the farmers and ranchers whose property is being overrun. You hear about the neighborhoods that are being overrun. You hear about the way that people in communities are so fearful. And that's exactly why we're having to step up and take action. Remember this, Maria. It was just 2 years ago that we had the fewest border crossings in decades. And then when the Biden administration took over, they eliminated the 4 things that President Trump put in place: building the wall, the Remain in Mexico policy, the Title 42 policy, as well as ending catch and release. Biden eliminated all of those things, and now we have chaos. That has caused Texas to have to step up and take unprecedented action. And that's why Texas is leading the way in securing our border.
Yes, you are. And you are here at the leading place. You're the first line of defense. You had to take matters into your own hands. And part of that program is you've put some of these migrants on buses and sent them to Washington, D.C. Now you're catching ire from the mayor of New York, mayor of D.C. They want federal funding. They want the National Guards. Tell us about that.
It's making my day. It's pure hypocrisy. Let me first tell you why I did it. And that is, I was working with the local communities where the Biden administration Border Patrol, they were dropping these migrants off in these small local communities that were incapable of dealing with the large number of migrants. They talked about maybe busing these migrants to San Antonio. I said, don't do that. I have a better idea. We're going to put them on buses and send them all the way to Washington, D.C. For one, we needed to relieve the congestion here on the Texas border. But now people in Washington, D.C. and New York are seeing what Texas has to grapple with. And I got news for them. They haven't yet seen the fullness of what we're busing up there. We're going to be adding thousands upon thousands of more to Washington, D.C. and to New York so that they can see exactly what's going on. The other thing about this, Maria, and that is, when we have open border policies like what Biden has allowed, every town and city in the United States is a border community. Now that Washington, D.C. is having to grapple with this, they're saying it's out of control. Finally, the rest of America is seeing how out of control what the state of Texas has been having to deal with.
Right. I mean, you're seeing it, and I know what the border towns are faced with. We haven't even gotten into the drugs and the illegal narcotics that are making their way to places like New York and Chicago and Atlanta in 24 to 48 hours. What kind of effort do you think they're going to take now that they're actually feeling all of these illegal migrants in their towns?
The more they see the numbers rise, the more they're going to be asking the federal government for assistance. And it's going to create a situation for the Biden administration where they are trying to help these liberal coastal cities in the Northeast deal with the immigration system while they're not helping the state of Texas. And that will just cause the rest of America, and especially Texans, to grow more furious with the Biden administration.
Governor, have you heard from President Biden? Has he called you to check in on all of this? I mean, you are, as I said, the first line of defense. The migrants are coming into Texas, and we don't know what they're doing then. I guess they're getting processed. Some of them are any of them going back?
So some are going back. So understand this about what we have on the border. As we speak right now, we have National Guard patrolling the border. And one of the duties of the National Guard is to return back to Mexico those who are trying to get into the United States. Second, under my most recent executive order, the Texas Department of Public Safety is arresting illegal immigrants and returning them to the border. But listen, what the Biden administration has to do, they have to realize exactly the chaos that they have created and correct it.
So has Joe Biden called you?
Never.
Never. You've never had a call or any outreach from the Biden administration?
So not from the president, not from the border czar, Kamala Harris. Mayorkas has talked to me a time or two at most. But they really don't care. It's kind of what you were suggesting earlier, and that is they are trying to bury their heads in the sand about all of this, and most of America really is not understanding the severity of the problem that we're dealing with. And that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to expose to the United States in all corners of the country exactly how catastrophic the Biden administration has made the border.
Secretary Mayorkas has testified under oath and has said, quote, the border is secure.
My expectation is that the Congress of the United States of America, they need to impeach Secretary Mayorkas.
Mm-hmm. Well, and many in our audience are feeling it because they're here living this nightmare. What kind of an impact are these illegal migrants having, whether it's the gotaways or those who have been processed? What are they doing to the border towns? How soon do they get to places like Houston and Dallas? And do they get fake papers to go onward in the interior of the country?
So there's two things that happen. Either they come across the border and they encounter Texas law enforcement, in which case we will arrest them. If they get to the Border Patrol first, however, the Border Patrol will process their papers and then put them on transportation vehicles to move them across the entire United States of America. Sometimes the Border Patrol will drop them off in our local communities, and when they do that, that's when we put them on buses and send them to Washington, D.C.
Well, we had breaking news because we had actual cameras on the ground in Westchester, at the private airport in Westchester, and we viewed it on Fox that we saw migrants, illegals, coming off of the plane in Westchester and just going on their way. Where are they going? What are they doing?
Right. And so that is another issue that the Biden administration has refused to explain to the public. It's in the middle of the night. Migrants are showing up in literally cities across the country. You mentioned Westchester, but there's dozens of other cities where the exact same thing is happening, and most Americans are not aware of it.
So you invited Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser here. What was the response?
Silence.
Silence.
Listen, they don't want to be exposed to this. They want to have nothing to do about it. They wanted to complain about it, about what they're having to grapple with. But I wanted them to come to the border and see for themselves the magnitude of the problem that we're having at the border. We've sent more than 6,000 people by bus to Washington, D.C. We have that many people coming across the Del Rio sector every single day.
Every day.
And they need to see firsthand what we're having to deal with. I think if we could educate more leaders across this country about the chaos caused by the Biden administration, that would compel the Biden administration to finally step up and do its job under the Constitution and enforce the immigration laws that have been passed by Congress.
Governor, before you go, what kind of benefits do they get when they come and sort of blend in with America in general? Because I know it's not just a national security risk and a health risk, but it's also pressure on the benefits that are given to American citizens. So walk us through that. What kind of benefits are available to them?
Is wide-ranging. For one, I've heard, I haven't actually seen this myself, but I've heard one benefit they get when they cross the border, they get a phone. But then,
a free cell phone.
A free cell phone. But then there would be health care benefits, education benefits, clothing benefits, all different kinds of things that will assist them, that states and local communities are having to bear the burden of these costs without the help of the federal government.
It's also taking away from American citizens and obviously leading to a squeeze, so taxes have to go higher. So the rest of the country is paying for this.
Exactly right. And we also need to point out, and that is, there are some who come here for work, but we got a lot of people who are looking for jobs, only to find that some of those jobs are being taken away by the people who are coming across the border. And that also reduces the salary that is earned by the people who are here, people who are grappling with the inflation that's caused by the Biden administration.
Wow. Governor, what you've done really requires courage, and we thank you for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Governor Greg Abbott. Texas state agencies face the full spectrum of the